Hi, I'm Glenn Gilmore, and for 8 years, I had the privilege of serving as mayor of a community of about 90,000 people. And during that time, I also served on the board of directors of a university hospital. So I have a keen understanding of how important health and human services are to the welfare of a community. I now serve as an educator and also as a Microsoft brand ambassador. And I'm very glad to have with me a group of distinguished thought leaders who are going to help us understand what's happening in the space of health and human services, and particularly with the use of generative AI. And I'd ask that the panel introduce themselves, and perhaps, Jeff, if we could start with you.
Great. Thanks, Glenn. My name is Jeff Dolan, and I'm RedMane's General Manager for our U.S. Public Sector Business Unit.
Terrific. Welcome, welcome. Paige, would you like to say hello?
Sure. So my name is Paige Roseman, and I serve as the Director of Innovation with RedMane.
Terrific.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Dan?
Thanks, Glenn. I'm Dan Lake here. I'm effectively our Chief Technology Officer here at RedMane.
Terrific. Thank you. Welcome. And Julian?
Thank you, Glenn. My name is Julian So. I'm on the Microsoft side. I'm a Microsoft technical resource partnering with the RedMane team on all things AI and generative AI.
Welcome, welcome. Microsoft has a philosophy that it wants to help empower every person and organization to achieve more. And the topic of the day is generative AI. And Microsoft is very keen on leveraging that technology to help all of us achieve more. And I know that it's been very proud of the work being done by RedMane, one of its ecosystem partners. And everyone on this panel recently was in some way a participant in a very large health and human services conference. And at that conference, there was great discussion about how generative AI is already being used in the area of health and human services. And I'm wondering, perhaps, Paige, if you might want to share with us some insights from that conference, and some of the points that were raised about the use of generative AI in health and human services.
Certainly. So we were fortunate enough to be asked by Microsoft to participate in a panel at ISM. This is with APHSA. And we were featuring our M Insights component. So M Insights is a use of machine learning and artificial intelligence to be able to provide support to child welfare. This is our prototype within child welfare, but it is actually program and platform agnostic. And we were really excited to be able to premiere publicly and nationally at ISM. And I think one of our greatest takeaways was really that we are doing something different. We are very intentional in how we're approaching the use of AI and ML. And as we attended the other presentations and even having conversations on the conference floor, it was very apparent that RedMane's approach in utilizing this technology is very different than how other companies are utilizing it. And we seem to be further along. And I'm really excited to have that affirmation, and excited about the possibilities.
Well, Paige, I was really fascinated to see a case study that showcased how RedMane has been working with the Southern First Nations network of care in leveraging artificial intelligence to add efficiencies to child care and birth care. And as I looked into this case study, one of the things that struck me most was how one of the moms said, the great thing about this initiative is that the caseworker was able to spend a lot of time with me. And I gathered from the case study that caseworker was able to spend a lot of time because the efficiencies that artificial intelligence was bringing through RedMane solutions were helping that organization make sure that people could focus on people. And can you give us some insights about that perspective?
Certainly, and that is one of our primary goals, is to add greater efficiency so that workers can be in the field with the families that they're serving. It's not to replace decision making, but really to enhance their ability to get the job done. We're utilizing AI to summarize information in a more attainable way, so that if you are driving to a home and you need to know what's happened in the last 6 months, this automation will allow them to, while they're driving, hear a quick summary of under 300 words, what has been going on, so that they can be well informed and while en route, and lessening that administrative time. We often hear from social workers, and that's actually my background. So I spent over 25 years in social work before joining the RedMane team, that one of their frustrations is the amount of paperwork. And so that was really at the forefront in how we were designing these tools, was to provide greater efficiencies and empower workers to be in the community and with the families that they're serving.
Paige,
So
absolutely exciting. I'm sorry, but absolutely exciting to hear that already right now RedMane is empowering health and human services organizations to leverage generative AI in a very practical way to help caseworkers do their job better. And I'm sorry, because I know you wanted to share an additional thought.
No, and I welcome Jeff and Dan to chime in too. Just really, I'm sorry, go ahead, Dan.
We really wanted to focus AI on supporting the users of our systems. We build very large child welfare systems. A lot of the focus on AI has been on call centers, and that's an important area and public focused. But we wanted to focus the AI on making the really overworked staff more effective and able to do their jobs. We didn't want to replace them, so it's not replacing the staff member, it's supporting them. Microsoft goes with a co-pilot approach. We call it the coach, not the player, but it's to build AI to make the users much more effective. Now, some of the challenges that we've encountered with AI is that traditionally AI doesn't build a lot of trust. There's been some experiences where it's perpetuated historical biases or bad practice because it's been trained on data that is maybe not perfect, data that might encompass bias, encompass workers who didn't always do the perfect job. And so the decisions made by traditional AI has been not always trusted. Mm-hmm. When we wanted to approach AI, and we really wanted to support the workers and use cognitive AI, these large language models truly are phenomenal. What we made the concerted effort to do was to train the AI not on the flawed historical data, but on contemporary concepts of best practice. So we trained the AI on what should somebody be doing in these circumstances. And then we enabled our systems to be kind of peering over their shoulder as a mini coach. I like to call it a mini page, but supporting the staff work and saying, hey, did you talk about safety in this conversation? Shouldn't we be looking into permanence? Things like that. So it's supporting them throughout the way they use their system. And it's a different approach, whereas traditionally AI has got a bit of a bad rap by it kind of making suggestions that weren't always such a great idea. It was directing people, it was replacing decision-making. We're supporting the staff and we're supporting the people, but we're supporting them by training these really powerful tools on best practices and supporting best practice. So every interaction, every time you use the system's suggesting improvements, suggesting ways of doing things best, instead of you talking to a supervisor once every few days kind of thing. And so it's really quite a powerful concept that's been enabled by this latest set of technologies.
And I love the points that both of you have made, which is that generative AI is really about leveraging this conversational artificial intelligence that literally can have a conversation with a person, to be that extra set of eyes to help a caseworker on the way to an assignment, to better understand what's happening in real time. And so, Jeff, I'm wondering how these great capacities are providing RedMane with an opportunity to outreach more with the health and human services community to help them do their jobs better.
Sure thing. So Glenn, like Paige and Dan have alluded to, the technology is incredibly powerful. The capabilities are incredibly powerful. And our view is finding the right use cases is key. There's hype. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's flashing stuff, but to harness that technology and the capabilities effectively, I'll call it safely and appropriately. Well, that's our orientation. So our quest right now is to find, discover, invent, and develop the right use cases and good, effective, targeted application of the capabilities. And I'd say that's where we are in the life cycle, if you will, building that repository of good use cases where we can bring these capabilities to bear in an effective way. And there are a lot of opportunities for that, in the health and human services space, like others, but it's particularly acute in that space, and in child welfare in particular. The workforce, the degree of staffing shortages and turnover, where these agencies have 30 to 50% vacancy rates and 30 to 50% turnover and attrition rate. So how can we help solve that problem? How can we help these agencies, take better advantage of the people they do have available, make their jobs better, easier, more productive, more efficient, and meaningfully help these agencies bridge that gap between the massive workloads and just heavy workloads that they have, coupled with the shortage of qualified staff. So we view that as an area of great focus, of great value. And when we talk about, finding and developing the use cases for targeting this kind of capability, it's things like that we think are going to matter and make a real valuable impact.
There's no question with what you're saying, Jeff. The fact that so many communities are strained with their resources, and within the health and human services are challenged by understaffing and staff that needs additional help. And you're talking about a technology that can empower workers to achieve more by allowing a technology to be there as an extra set of eyes, giving them assistance to do their jobs. Julian, I wonder if you could share some insights, because I know that each of our guests here have spoken about the importance of trust, and perhaps you can share some insights on how Microsoft works within that ecosystem to help provide trust when it comes to the use of AI and generative AI.
Oh, definitely, Glenn. Like at a conference that we've shared the panel with our friends at RedMane, we talked about and shared with the group the responsible AI and the AI principles with the group who will be using RedMane software. And that includes transparency of the models that's being used. That includes concepts like biasness and groundedness of the model itself as well. And also the fact that we have overlaid controls that are enterprise standards. So it supports privacy, it supports heightened security from authentication perspective. Those are all technologies that have predated Azure OpenAI, that we are not reinventing with the wheel, we are inheriting those technologies. And we roll up and build on those technologies, including all the transparency and the principles of responsible use of AI. And we showcase that alongside what RedMane is building from a solution standpoint. And I think the combination of the solution and the foundational capabilities of the technology, including Azure OpenAI that they're building it upon, provides the assurance that a lot of our customers or RedMane customers would want to have when they are actually going to be deploying these kind of solutions, in production, especially when it deals with PI information and potentially information that could be very sensitive in nature.
Thank you, Julian. And I love how Microsoft emphasizes that within this particular space, it requires an ecosystem to effectively leverage this transformative technology. Paige, you in your past in another life were I gather, a social worker. Can you help us understand how you're communicating to your colleagues who are caseworkers and social workers, how they can leverage this technology and what it's all about? I'm just wondering, how do you connect with what for many is a difficult to comprehend technology with an understanding of this can make your job better and it can make the care better?
Absolutely. And a lot of that is through demonstration, being able to demo the effectiveness. You should see the smiles and excitement on faces. And I often comment, if I had had access to this level of support and technology when I was in the field, it would be game changing. And I don't say that lightly. One of the things that we're doing, and this also speaks to some of the trust that we're trying to instill and build, and I think that's essential when having conversations with social workers and their leadership, is by being able to not just provide an output from the generative AI, but the reason why. So there's three pillars to child welfare practice, and that's safety, permanency, and well-being. And our federal government, the Children's Bureau, reviews to it in states review local jurisdictions to whether or not social workers are effectively assessing and addressing safety, permanency, and well-being. So some of the generative AI that we are employing will provide an assessment of what the narrative is saying. So when a caseworker is out visiting a family and they type up that narrative or they speak into their MCase app and it is written out for them, as soon as they hit save, it analyzes whether or not that narrative is assessing and addressing safety, permanency, and well-being.
Wow.
So historically, there hasn't been the why behind the what. And that's where some of that apprehension comes in with AI and machine learning. You're given a score, but you don't know why or how this methodology came up with this score or output. And we have decided to provide the justification, the explanation as to why. And this is also where that coach really comes into play. Because as a worker is receiving this information in real time on every single contact, and because of how we've engineered our prompts, they're receiving feedback on every single contact as to whether or not they met that expectation around assessing and addressing those three pillars: safety, permanency, and well-being. So the goal is that if we are doing it often, we are doing it in real time, we are not basing this analysis on historical information or how the system may have gotten it wrong with families that are already overrepresented in child welfare, that we will be able to support best practices. It's no longer about meeting minimum standard, but through the use of this tool, even while they're experiencing these vacancies and other challenges, we will be able to help them achieve best practice. And in turn, really improve the experience and outcomes, not just for the staff themselves, but also for the families that they're serving.
Well, Paige, congratulations to the incredible work you and RedMane are doing to improve healthcare and childcare and elder care within our communities. And I would love to hear perhaps a final thought from each of you on what you see looking into the future and would hope for this new technology in the health and human services space. And perhaps, Jeff, we might start with you.
Sure. I guess what we look towards and hope for and are working towards is again, applying these capabilities with impact, appropriate impact. And again, it's not our desire or intention to take the human out of the loop in any way.
Mm-hmm.
We use the coaching and co-piloting kind of imagery for the capabilities we provide. It's not so the agencies can do the work with 70% less staff. That's not the objective. Again, what we're working towards and investing in going forward is just finding these use cases and finding these applications of this tremendous capability in like Paige characterized it, in real game-changing ways.
Excellent, excellent. And Dan, to your fellow technologists, what thoughts might you offer them?
I would say that the technology is important and it's complicated, but not as complicated as it used to be. It's not as much of a barrier to entry. I think it's become much more about how do we use it and what are the right appropriate use cases to using it. There are some details. It's not as good with structured data as I'm used to. I'm used to computers being really good with structured data. It's really good with unstructured data. So we've got to start marrying the concept of structured and unstructured data together, and maybe the way we build our systems will change a little bit because of that. But on the whole, using it is much easier now that we've got things like Azure OpenAI and we can connect to via the cloud. But figuring out the right uses and then figuring out how to marry that with our existing operational data, which is very rich and got lots of information, but not always super accessible to the AI tools. That's going to be key. And then building something that's trustworthy and reliable and things and that people will believe in. But I think the technology is really there. It's now up to us technologists to use it in a responsible way and to build out these phenomenal tools.
Thank you very much. Excellent thoughts. And perhaps your fellow technologist, Julian, might want to offer a word as well.
Definitely. Thank you, Glenn. And to mirror what Dan says, I mean, I'm at Microsoft and my peers are at Microsoft. We are passionate about the technology. And we have, a motto or, slogan in the company that says, empower every organization, individual to do more. And those are just words. I think the partnership and the opportunity to see the actual work and impact that, like Paige alluded to, I think that kind of lends a lot of meaning. And I think it really provides me and my coworkers a reality into what it really means, right? Making that difference and what does that really mean? Because we are not subject matter experts. I mean, from a welfare standpoint, but in doing so, it gives us the opportunity to actually tangibly see, how that really makes a difference in this particular vertical itself. And for that, I'm actually very, very thankful, and it's been a very valuable and honorable opportunity to be able to kind of partner with my friends at RedMane.
Terrific, terrific. And Paige, your final thoughts for us on this very exciting moment with technology and healthcare and human services tapping into what many consider to be one of the most important transformative technologies since I'm not sure when.
Well, and it's so key, and it's such a privilege to be able to play a role as translator and also really contributing to ensuring that government systems, both state and local government systems, have access to such groundbreaking technology. Historically, we are behind the curve in government systems. We don't have access to this type of technology. You end up getting your laptop from surplus and you're behind the curve. And to know that we are really championing this effort to ensure that workers in government systems have access to technology that is on the cusp. A sincerest appreciation to Microsoft for partnering with us to be able to ensure that we are putting this technology where it will have an amazing impact on the lives of children and families. It is, again, truly a privilege to be working with RedMane in this capacity. And as I said, and I'll say it again, the potential for the impact is truly game-changing. And so we are incredibly fortunate and excited to really ensure that we're doing something important here that will have a long-lasting, if not lifetime, impact on the families that these government systems are serving.
Paige, thank you and your colleagues for helping us understand RedMane's passion to leverage AI, generative AI, to help healthcare and human services do a better job, to help the workforce achieve more, and of course to Microsoft emphasizing the importance of that ecosystem with skilled partners like RedMane. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.